beaming into your mind like a ray of cosmic revelation, smashing through the mainstream like a comet of prophecy. You're listening to Planet Rurlock, your podcast for everything super, psionics, and magic tech. Yes, welcome to my show. Well, tonight's podcast is about splicing Fortune 500s. So without further ado, let us begin. You know, there's an old saying, hiding in plain sight. Our opposition does this, has done this, since the beginning of our foundations. Look at a dollar bill, what do you see? All the tell signs of control and monopoly. Yes, our lives controlled. Don't you think it's about time that you had some power for a change? Well, that's what I'm going to talk about. How to. You see, most people think in terms of direct conflict. We have that football mentality. Just rush in, meet him head on, let the quarterback do his job. But things are a little more complicated than that in the world. We have to understand the world from the top down. As above, so below. Flowchart this in our minds. Mind map it out. And then work out our plan with psionics. Make no mistake about it. Psionics is true freedom. Without psionics, you will not have true freedom. Everything we have acquired so far has been accomplished not only by people on the ground, but by us, the Psionic Brotherhood, long before the opening of the Vrlock Club. There were the Knights of the Old Republic, the original Psionic Brotherhood. And before the Psionic Brotherhood, there was just me, Vrlock. Yes, back in the year of 2008, roughly 2008-2009, I began taking on that magical name of Vrlock, and I wanted to see what I could do to help change the world. I left my country back at the turn, just at the very beginning, literally, in January of 2009. And I was gone for 7 years in an island country known as Japan. Long time ago, that country was known by another name, an ancient old name that meant dragonfly. Dragonflies are not only beautiful and mysterious, for which I have some interesting stories about my relationship to the land and the sea and the mountains in Japan and its mystical powers. But dragonflies also eat mosquitoes. Mosquitoes are vampires, essentially, parasites. Yes, we live in a parasitical society, not only in our wake, but in the dream state as well, in the astral. All manner of astral drivel awaits you, and you must harden yourself before making that journey into the afterlife. Like the shaman and shaman of old, the Native American Indians, all of our ancient ancestries, Native Americans, the Norse, long before the Teutonic people were established, going far back into the Stone Age. the land of ancient Egypt, and the Magi driven out, hiding remotely. Some say that the original Magi came to Japan, which is interesting because it was while I lived in Japan for 7 years that I invented the miraculous prayer board, which this psychometric instrument, this instrument of psionics, operated by touch, the heart chakra, and includes empathic powers that most psionic instruments completely omit, is the design of the ancient Purusha, the perfect being. As above, so below, male and female at the perfect unison, heaven and earth in perfect alignment. The hexagram. And with this instrument, I stopped my first super typhoon, known as Super Typhoon Neoguri, from completely destroying Honshu in Japan. It wasn't an easy journey for me. My life going all the way back into my early childhood, traveling from America to Saudi Arabia where I lived and went to international school, back to America and then to Japan, I've been challenged by forces paranormal, supernatural. You know, I might go off on a little tangent here and say that the difference between paranormal and supernatural is that the paranormal, those who operate in the paranormal, believe that there is a scientific explanation for the invisible, whereas the supernatural, we know that there are things that are unexplainable within a scientific explanation on the furthest unfathomable reaches beyond outer space, where our world of physical reality drops off like a waterfall trickling into the eternal realm of the dreamland, where the Aborigine reign king and rule the universe. But in our arrogance in this small pinpoint needle in a haystack within the cosmic all, we have come to believe that our Western way of thinking reigns supreme and is dominant. But it is folly to believe this. It is a system, and it can be unplugged, dismantled, and disintegrated. Well, there must be something in the universe that loves us enough to keep us revolving around the sun. Or is it that we are being farmed by a diabolical force which feeds upon us eternally? What I'm going to talk about tonight is how we can use something called psionic splicing to change our destiny, to kick fate aside, and to become the pilot of our future by maintaining control over our present, by living the magical lifestyle, by understanding what magic really is. I've had people shout at me before that what I'm doing is witchcraft and it's anti-Christian and this and that, or from the other side, it doesn't obey the laws of Islam, or this or that. Well, you know, frankly, witchcraft, for those of you not well versed in magic, is simply low magic. All right? I have a much bigger view of the world of the so-called impossible, and I am a psionicist, so do not refer to my work as witchcraft. I'm a pioneer, embarking on a journey to a new frontier, and I want to share this freedom with you. Knowledge, which can lead you to wisdom, attaining wisdom through practice and observance, can give you freedom. I'm a big believer in mind being more important than our physical appearance, more important than our ethnicity or gender. But we live in such a world of conflict, the likes of which a child could not imagine. We enter into the world, some of us more pure than others, some of us more willing to get along, and we have to take that plunge into society's various institutions, which dismantle, take apart everything godly about us, and throw us into something of a fear factory. Day one, what are you up against? You're judged. In school, yes, going as far back as I can remember in the earliest grades of school. I have friends of every, well, not of every, but of many ethnicities. And, you know, I've lived through those time periods in my life where I was accused or shouted at. Someone wanted to label me as a racist in high school. I walked out the door of that classroom, and my friend, who happened to be black and happened to be uncertain about his sexuality, walked up, gave me a big hug, and said, "Hey, Tom, how you doing?" And then this girl in the classroom who had been trying to make me look like a total ass in front of everyone, because I was the quiet kid in class. They always pick on the quiet kids. He's mean. Well, the tendency is that they tend to be mean little girls in school. They pick on the quiet person. They pick on people who aren't doing anything wrong. And it's part of this ranking system that they have. Always attacking. Attack. Well, she came out of the classroom behind me, ready to trail on my heel steps, saw me and my friend, happy as hell that the class was over and we're going to the next, little recess between class. And this girl was so incredibly pissed off because she didn't get what she wanted. The world doesn't work the way that she wants it to work. Well, now look around you. Look around you in society, on television, on the internet, Twitter. What do you see? Bunch of garble bullshit. They keep throwing this regurgitated bullshit at us all the time. And who's pushing it? Every Fortune 500 company. Oh, it's very subtle at first. Now it's more direct than ever, and you just gotta swallow it. Well, I'm here to tell you that you don't have to swallow it. But you don't fight it the dumb way. You don't get into flame wars on social networks. You're just wasting your time if you do that. Use psionics. Sometimes the only way out is through. Yes, they say Big Brother is watching you. Well, why don't you watch him right back? He's hiding in plain sight. Don't you see? I have a plan. And if you want to know my plan, you should join me. Vrolok.club. Support my work. So we have all these Fortune 500 companies, and what they say is more valuable to know. What they say and what the National Academy says, what the World Economic Forum says, what they say you should be paying attention to versus what all of our bureaucrats, politicians, and representatives are saying, because they are only diverting you away from how things are moving. Now, on a positive note, it is possible to have an international society, a one-world planet, where we pull and pool our resources to venture into outer space, to colonize and to become the sentient species that we are intended to be. That's all entirely possible. And that potential is going to be achieved by 2 generations. The millennials, and then with some help from Generation X. The trick, the difficulty in the matter is for generations to get along, because every generation is looking back or looking forward and pointing the finger, saying, that messed up generation. Yeah, it's all their fault. Yeah, I know. I always looked back at the baby boomers when I was young, thinking, oh, what were they doing at Woodstock? Well, you know, they were living their lives. They're people, and nobody's perfect. Sure, there's always room for improvement. But it begins with yourself. It begins with me. Every day I think about it. How can I make myself better? What could I do? I think that the first thing we need to do is focus our psionics and learn splicing methods. And instead of taking down a system that we disapprove of, something that we disregard as utter nonsense, instead of doing that, use the game pieces that are in place. You'll understand once you devour my philosophy in my book, Psionic Splicing. And if you read my journey, the Verloc Practical Guides, it's definitely worth your time reading VPG 1, 2, and 3, the Metaphysics of Self-Mastery, what you're up against from day 1, exploring the power of your Manipura chakra, power of will, mastering it, overcoming anger. Then reading my second VPG 2, the Miraculous Prayer Board Guide, embracing the heart chakra, raising society up to the level of the heart. And then VPG 3, understanding the power of your brow chakra, rising up to the brow and the crown chakra. And my journeys throughout. These stories are meant to be in part your path-working process so you can relate to my journey and make it yours and own the adventure. Not all of us are as fortunate as I have been to have traveled the world. It hasn't all been fun and games, believe me. I've been challenged by the supernatural throughout my life. And I have a purpose. You are my purpose. Those of you listening now. You're everything to me. My message to you. When I make prayer boards, when my wife and I make prayer boards, we're creating a relationship with you when you purchase one of my miraculous prayer boards. This is the most important work of my life. To bond the world through through the power of the heart chakra. That ancient symbol, the hexagram, found in southern African tribes, the flag of Israel, even going further back before the Hebrews to a time where the Arabs embraced the symbol as well, possibly even going further back to the times of Hermes in ancient Egypt. This is our symbol of perfection. It is also the Hindu symbol that is tied to the heart chakra, the Anahata. This is our key. This is our key for healing, mending, repairing society, and bringing us up to a new spiritual level of reality. This prayer board connects us. It interpenetrates us and binds us into the cosmic all, brings us back, brings everything into balance. And for those of us psionic operators who are ready to pursue the higher levels of mind and work with splicing, a more complicated form of techno-wizardry, we can redirect some of those Fortune 500s to do work for us. So that by coincidence, in the long run, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, and things that we can't even imagine right now through technology, rather than enslaving us, we can turn it around and it can free us and liberate us in ways that we never imagined before. I invite you to take this journey with me and help me fulfill this dream and change the world. Imagine it. Imagine being able to walk into any neighborhood, any store, any school, any facility, any park, any temple, any institution, and it won't matter what color you are. It won't matter what gender you are. A place in the future where you will be welcomed with an open heart, and it all begins with this journey. My life is now yours. So I welcome you to join me in the journey and learn all that you can from everything I have learned in my life that was originally going to be kept secret. But I decided not to be a victim of the supernatural. And instead, I'm turning it to my advantage. It can now be turned to your advantage. So take advantage of the knowledge I have to offer you and embrace this wisdom and thrive. Thank you for joining me on Planet Vroak tonight. And until next time, as always, always keep the magic high. This is Tom Vroak, signing out.